Testing the sound, 1, 2, 3. Back here. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Sunday workshop today. Today's live stream is meant to be kind of a repeat of what I talked about on Friday, but there'll be some differences. I have some new things to teach you guys, and I hope that my stream is coming through well and that you can hear me. I might go and just make sure over in the chat that things are running smoothly. In fact, let me look here in the yeah, I'll move this over so it's out of the view when I share my screen. But yeah, it looks like what I'm going to do while we just allow for a few more extra people to show up. I'm going to go ahead and look at the live chat. Sorry, I got to turn the volume down on that. All right, I just typed hello in the live chat, and I'm excited to share what I have today for you guys and tell you about the Leverage WP community a little bit. Today's Sunday, July 24th in the year 2022. A little bit more than halfway through the year, and it looks like the live stream is working. And so I thank you guys for your patience. Today I have a little bit of a schedule. as we are just getting started with this Leverage WP community, I have a vision for it. And I know that some of you guys have been privy to my vision as I've sent out some emails with some bullet points about what this community is going to be like, what I'm hoping it's going to be like. And when we get, we've already got somewhere over 20 members in there, and we're already starting. Let me share my screen real quick. We're already starting to have a couple of good conversations in here. Question about registering domain names, and I'm getting in there and answering questions about hosting WordPress websites, registering domain names, and getting them set up, etc. And so one of the benefits of being a part of this community is not only that you get to go ahead and post a question or a concern or something that you'd like to know, but you could also post something like a tutorial request. I am ready and standing by to answer all of your questions, anybody that's here in the community. But I'm also here to make some video and written tutorials about specific topics. And, my vision for this community not only includes, just getting in there and answering questions about WordPress, but also it's a forum for me to be able to put out brand new tutorials talking about the current state of WordPress. One of the things I mentioned last Friday was, a lot of you guys have come to my environment and met me through my Udemy course, the complete WordPress website business course. And now that I've released the 2.0 version, I've really had kind of an insight, an epiphany in that as soon as I publish a static course like the complete WordPress website business course 2.0, almost immediately there are software changes, WordPress gets updated, there are plugins that have changes and changes in the way that they function. And so almost immediately the content inside that static Udemy course becomes outdated. And of course I can go ahead and reshoot the course videos when necessary. And I do try to keep up with that and answer questions in the Udemy Q&A. But this Leverage WP community right here is designed to be on the cutting edge of what's happening in WordPress right now. So I'm going to be doing this, creating a post almost every day inside of WordPress to share what changes are happening within the WordPress environment as far as how WordPress works when WordPress updates from version 5.9, for example, to 6.0. As we did recently, when we updated from version 5.8 to 5.9, there was a huge change. We had the full site editing process and the brand new theme called 2022 released into the WordPress world, and it drastically changed what a new WordPress website looks like at the very beginning when you install it. And in fact, it introduced a whole bunch of new functionality, the site editor and other functionality as far as making site templates that interact with the theme that you're using. The 2022 WordPress theme is really a future WordPress theme. Right now, even though we go in the Udemy course teaching 2022 and how to use it, currently, I don't recommend that you use 2022 on any site other than just a site that you're practicing with, playing with to learn the future of WordPress, or if it's just a very simple brochure style site, kind of a static website that you're building for a client. Now, there are more and more full site editing themes out there, but the environment around WordPress is changing, but changing slowly as we move into the future here. So let me share my my iPad screen here quickly, and as we go through, inside of the community, I have 3 different groups created so far. And here, let me switch over to the iPad screen so that you guys can see it. Okay, so the 3 Leverage WP departments that I have in mind to share with you guys and for the larger categories that I'll be using to categorize my content as I put up new tutorials, different pieces of content that I post inside the community. For one, we've got the design school. And, this is going to be dealing with actually creating websites and their visual design. So this is where we'll be talking about, page builders, themes for WordPress, and 2 kinds of themes, both classic and full site editing, or FSE themes, or what some people are calling block-based themes inside of WordPress. And, that's kind of a, it's a whole can of worms that we can open up. And this is what I'm going to teach a little bit today on the live stream, in addition to a few other little tidbits that I'll get to here in a little bit. But the next topic that, as far as a category of content that I have, is called the engineering division. And then finally, the implementation lab. So those are 3 groups. If I open up the community right here, you can see that there are groups over here: Design School, Engineering Division, and Implementation Lab. And I'll be using those first groups to categorize the content that I put up inside the community here. And so one thing, just as I'm getting started, some of you may know this already, but if you're wondering about the community and what it is, what's involved in it, just let me go over that quickly here at the beginning of the live stream before I go into the next section, a little bit of details about inside of the design school topic and getting, here I am on my iPad again. We've introduced these 3 departments within Leverage WP, but the design school breaks themes and design tools for WordPress out into 3 kind of subcategories. So builders, or what we've called page builders in the past, really visual, code-free building tools on top of WordPress. Something that I use quite often is Divi, but I also teach and use these other options. And there are more than just these out there in the WordPress world, and things are changing fast all the time. But secondly, classic themes and themes that use the customizer inside of WordPress. These are themes that are not full site editing themes. So right here, FSE, these block-based themes are full-site editing themes like 2022. But in the other, in classic themes, these are still very valid and highly recommended themes and design building systems for WordPress that I'd recommend right now. The Cadence theme and Blocks plugin, the Astra theme and their partner Blocks plugin called Spectra really makes Astra or any theme into kind of a page builder powered website. Spectra is brand new and it's about to be released to the public. And another one called Bricks is brand new and it's also about to be released to the public. There's beta testing happening right now, and a new release candidate was just released this morning, I noticed, for Bricks. Also, Elementor is a good page builder that has a free version, so it's become very, very popular. And, I do have access to the pro version. I'll teach some of that stuff too. But classic themes like Cadence, Astra, GeneratePress is a really popular one that's high performance. And, 2 older default themes, the 2020 and 2021 themes for WordPress, all fall under this kind of classic themes category. And then finally, block themes. This was started in WordPress 5.9. Now we're at WordPress 6.1. And the 2022 default theme is something that I've taught in the Udemy course. There's also some new full site editing or block-based themes in the environment available, like Frost WP, created by Brian Gardner and the folks behind the original Genesis framework that I taught in the 1.0 version of the Udemy course. They're embracing full site editing and creating some themes under the WP Engine brand that actually bought StudioPress and Genesis some years ago. And so they're developing Frost WP. There's a version of the 2021 theme that actually Automatic and the WordPress organizers are building. That's a block-based version of 2021, and it's called the TT1 Blocks theme over here, a full site editing theme. And there are another couple, one called Blockbase and one called Armando, by some of the developers that are active within the WordPress space. And so again, I'll be teaching all of these systems, and really oftentimes teaching how are they different from each other and how do you migrate from one to the next. And so the modern WordPress world, because it changes so fast, and every week there's something new that comes out that we can experiment with. There are new tools that come out for WordPress, and there are older versions of how WordPress works that we'll want to be leaving behind eventually. And so I want to make sure that inside the community here, I can make these posts in a timely fashion and have members of the community be up on all the new stuff within WordPress. Let me just take a sip of water here. Well, with that said, let me just go over, if you're anywhere on the community and you're not logged in, you can use the sign in button here, or this sign up button at the top right will take you to this sign up for the community page. And it just has a few bullet points about what the community is about, and what it includes, and then how this founding members promotional period right now is working. Right now, we're in this first 100 people. We're below 100 people that have signed up as founding members. As a founding member, you'll get all these benefits at a rate of $150 for the year. That's equivalent to $12.50 per month. But it will be going up to $300 per year as soon as the first 300 discounted members come in. And then eventually the community will be available at a retail cost of $600 per year or $50 a month. And so $150 for the year or $12.50 per month is a heavy discount, obviously, and I just want to encourage folks that want to get in here and sort of steer the direction of the community itself, and encourage you guys to get in here and begin talking with me, talking with each other within the community, and to begin to shape where the community is going to be going. What I really want to do is I want to put out content every week that the community members actually want and want to learn. And so if you're like, well, gosh, I need some help with this WooCommerce project I have for a client. I've got a client site, I'm building an e-commerce store, and I have these particular needs. We're selling, say, t-shirts, and we need different sizing and what I think is called a variable product within WooCommerce. Greg, could you give me a little bit of advice on that? And I'll be able to go in here and take a look at the community and say, yes, you can either give me a private message here under messages, or I'll get a notification when people post. If you get in here and just share what's on your mind and ask a question, I'll be able to see that and respond to the questions in here in the public forum, so that not only can I answer your specific questions inside of the Leverage WP community, but everyone will be able to get in there and reference the questions that have been asked and answered, as well as being able to come up here and use this search bar to search for content within the community. And I think what I'll be adding too are specific forums behind these groups talking about specific topics. And so let me go back to the window here where I have the sign up page, and So for example, let me just go over what are these 6 things that I envision for the community and what the benefits are. So obviously full access to the community site to be able to post posts and questions inside there. You can post screenshots of your own sites or issues that you might be having in order to clarify your questions, and I'll be able to get in there and answer them every day and every week. And then so ask me anything, anytime. Here inside the community, you'll be able to go up here and under messages, for example, say you were to maybe that's my own profile. But if you were to look at your own profile, or you can see your timeline, your connections. If you wanted to send me a private message, you could go here under messages. You can view your inbox, and you can compose a message. Let's see. Say you wanted to go and of course it's not recognizing me as someone that I could post to, but I could post to, I can answer or ask a question of someone in here, and you can do the same type of thing using that internal messaging system in the community. And so just being able to ask me a question in public or in private is the benefit that I'm offering here. And I'll be in there posting and answering questions every day. One more benefit that I'm able to offer, because inside of my GridPane hosting account, I have several servers. Here's the first server right here called Upload Community 1. I'm paying for this server, which is a particular server at a particular IP address. And the only sites that I'm hosting here are going to be websites for community members. And so when you sign up for the Leverage WP community, I'm going to ask you via email, what domain name would you like to use for your custom website? And so this includes, your membership includes one free professionally hosted website at any domain that you provide for the life of your membership. So this means that if you register a domain name, say at Cloudflare, for example, all you have to do is point that domain name to the IP address I'll give you, and you're going to have a live working WordPress website as if you were my client. And because that is a client relationship with me, not only do you get the professionally hosted website, and I monitor the server for uptime and speed and everything like that, but you also can get access to the licenses that I use in my business. For example, my lifetime Divi license, if you wanted to use Divi to create your website there. Other examples are the Cadence Pro. I have Elementor Pro available to members, among some other plugins and themes that I have access to. And I'll be making some posts inside the community about setting that up. Now, what if you don't have a domain name registered, but you still want to take advantage of your professionally hosted website? You can provide me with a, quote, fake or temporary domain name, for example. You can provide me with just yourname.com, for example, and I'll be able to set up a website at my GridPane server here for you, and you'll be able to get into, on your own computer, you'll be able to set up your hosts file. And so I'm changing over to just give you a quick look at my hosts file here inside of the live stream. Here we go. So I've opened in Notepad my hosts file on my Windows computer, and you can see that I have a number of different IP addresses here, a lot of which have a hashtag in front, which is basically a comment tag that comments out this right here. But what you can do is open this file as an administrator on your computer, and you can add any domain name right here to point to your website. So for example, what I would do is, I would take the IP address of the server, which is this right here, and then I'd go space, and I could go, your privatename.com. Now, even if you don't own the domain name yourprivatename.com, you can fool your computer into thinking that that is a valid domain name. And so you don't actually have to have the name registered in order to use your website benefit here inside of the community. And I'll teach you how to do that. I've already done that for several new members of the community. But if you do have a valid domain name, you can go ahead and point it using your own DNS records or name servers. And I'll teach you how to do that once you're a member inside the community here. I'm also going to be posting public workshops, tutorials. I'll be doing some Friday workshops like this. This is Sunday, but last Friday I did one. But I'll be doing some periodic workshops that are only available to the community members. And the replays will be available for you inside the community here. And so more content for learning WordPress and figuring it out provided by me inside the community. And so, as I mentioned, I'm going to be updating all of you guys inside the community here on the current state of WordPress, the current best practices, and things that are no longer best practices, which are things you should probably stop doing. And those are important things to know if you're managing WordPress websites, either for yourself and your own business and or for your client websites. And so I'm going to be offering you guys future-proofing information for your websites. So, each week, if you check in with the community, you'll see that I've posted, hey, these things are changing, and keep in mind that for all of your current WordPress websites, you should stop doing it this way and potentially start doing it in the new way. And I'm going to be keeping you guys up on all that stuff. And then finally, shiny objects, reviews and reveals on new WordPress tools, plugins and themes, etc., as they're released to the public. And so, for example, as we go here, I'm showing you now on my little whiteboard or black board here on my iPad. If we're looking at inside the design school, there are certain builders that are current and currently being used very well. Oxygen, Divi. There is a new page builder system by the makers of Oxygen called Breakdance, and I'll be outlining and reviewing that for you guys. It's really a refactored version of Oxygen, really, because as I mentioned last Friday, Oxygen is built on a JavaScript framework called AngularJS. And in the last couple of years, it's been announced that AngularJS is going away. It's sunsetting. And while Oxygen Builder is going to continue to work for existing websites, it's really going to get the minimum of developer updates into the future, just as far as security and things like that. But the company that made Oxygen has spent the last 3 years developing a new page builder called Breakdance. It's very similar to Oxygen, but it's built on React JavaScript framework, which is currently still being developed and maintained by folks that do that in the JavaScript world. React is an open source JavaScript framework that it powers a lot of different utilities, including Facebook. But Breakdance is built on React, and so it's going to be more future-proof than Oxygen is currently. There's another one that's in development called Bricks. A lot of people are bailing on Oxygen/Breakdance and moving to Bricks instead. And while Bricks is very close to having a publicly available release, it's still in development and there's testing going on right now. So there's the first release candidate was just released to the public today. And so we'll be getting in there and testing it and seeing if there are any bugs or anything that we can find before the maker of Bricks, Thomas, a really excellent, really stand-up guy with integrity, is building Bricks, and he'll be releasing it to the public very soon. So I'll be teaching you guys about that. Like I said, Elementor, one of the most popular page builders, but changes happen. And so, the makers of Astra have created a page builder system called Spectra. They did have a block plugin called, I think it was Ultimate Add-ons for Gutenberg, and they renamed it Spectra. They've been developing it over the past year, and it's being called Spectra Page Builder. And so I'll be offering lessons on how to use that and when to use it, what kinds of projects to use it on. And so as we move from builders over to classic themes like Cadence, like Astra, like GeneratePress, to me, those are the big three most powerful classic WordPress themes that use the WordPress customizer to do their own version of full site editing. And so these classic themes, even though we have FSE or full site editing block-based themes right now with 2022, for example, and Frost, those aren't quite production ready, like I mentioned. And so these classic themes like Cadence, Astra, GeneratePress, they're moving into the future as well, not quite embracing the block patterns and block themes that are coming, but they're very valid ways to make websites for your own business and websites for client sites, as well as the 2021 default WordPress theme, the 2020 default WordPress theme. However, the features that are available in Cadence and Cadence blocks, Astra and the Spectra block plugin, GeneratePress and their blocks system, those are really quite powerful and ready for production sites right now. And so I'll also be teaching, and this is part of the future-proofing your business and your WordPress system as far as design. You'll want to learn about full site editing and how to use full site editing themes, the templates and template parts that are within those themes, so that you can be ready to adopt a block-based theme when it's ready for you. And so I'll be teaching about 2022, the Frost WP, and these three others, as well as reviewing other block-based themes that are coming out. And there's new ones every single week. I've been finding that there's one or two new full site editing themes being made available in the WordPress theme repository every week. And so I want to keep up on that. And instead of updating or having to refactor the Udemy course, I'm going to be using the Leverage WP community site in order to let you guys know exactly what's going on as far as new block-based themes and full site editing. And so I know that I'm just checking the chat to make sure. It looks like I don't have any new messages in the chat, so thanks for bearing with me there. Let's move on a little bit. I just want to show you guys kind of how I would, just a few different details on the next portion of the content within the community and how I'm going to be organizing. So like I mentioned, we've got these three departments. The design school, we just took care of kind of going over those. Now the engineering division. I'd love to share with you guys what I'll be covering within the engineering division. Look, I wrote department right here, but I've decided to call that the engineering division. So I'll just change that inside of my graphic here. Inside of the engineering division, there are kind of three areas that I see as subcategories inside of the engineering division. But what I mean by engineering is things that work behind the scenes at WordPress sites. So, the hosting and servers. There's really three different types of hosting and servers for WordPress websites. And if you guys have been through any of my courses, the WordPress Accelerator program talked about hosting in the three types. But shared hosting is still a valid way to go. It is the least expensive way, but the worst performance as far as WordPress websites go. But SiteGround and Bluehost are good options as far as starter accounts to just get started for, say, $5 or $10 a month to be able to host multiple sites with the least amount of expense. And so shared hosting is good, but of course your free website as a Leverage WP community member is probably the best way to start, because I'm using self-managed hosting with GridPane really the best there is as far as speed and performance, and the server setup for WordPress is best in class. And so, but in addition to shared, a lot of people move from shared hosting over to managed WordPress hosting. And if you look at managed hosting like WP Engine and Flywheel hosting, which is owned by WP Engine, Pagely is another example, or Kinsta WordPress hosting. These are companies that offer single site hosting at a minimum of, say, $15 a month. Multiple site hosting you can get at Flywheel for as low as $10 a month if you buy 10 at a time in bulk. And so you're looking at $100 a month for Flywheel hosting if you want to host client sites. And they'll limit you to 10 sites. And so another example would be, say, GridPane hosting. If I go to the GridPane website, I showed this on the Friday workshop as well. But if you look at the pricing of GridPane, to do what I am offering next in my hosting program would cost you $200 a month, but that's billed annually. So $2,400 gets you unlimited websites, and you have to pay for your servers. Now, the servers at GridPane that you can set up, for example, this UpCloud Community 1 server that I have set up here for the community websites is a $20 a month server. And what's recommended is that you can fit between 20 and 40 websites on a $20 a month server. And so that is one of the biggest differences, as I mentioned, between, say over here for managed hosts, probably one of the cheapest ways to go is $100 a month for a Flywheel account, which will let you host 10 sites, right? However, at GridPane, if you pay $200 a month plus $20, well, then that lets you basically have unlimited sites, up to, say, 40 websites, However, don't think about GridPane at $200 a month. I'm going to be offering community members their own GridPane account for only $100 a month. And that's really unlimited websites. So, you've got to buy your server, so it's really 120. But for that, you can fit 20 to 40 websites. And I would charge clients anywhere from, $25 to $25 a month, all the way up to, say, $100 a month. Most of my website clients pay me $100 a month to host their websites. And so if I look and I'll show you inside of my GridPane account here. These are all my websites on various servers that I host at GridPane. And each of these site owners, business owners, is paying me on an average $100 a month. And so it only takes me 1 to 2 clients to pay for my GridPane account. I have a developer account, so it's $200 a month. It's $2,400 for the year. But it only takes me 2 clients to pay for that. And so you can see my list of client sites that I have here on my GridPane account. And so that gives you an idea of the kind of the kind of thing you can do with a powerful hosting account like GridPane. Of course, a Flywheel hosting account works for you as well. GridPane, when it says self-managed here, it's really, there's a little bit of setup that you have to do. You have to go and get your own server or infrastructure that you have to just kind of sign up for here at GridPane. But it's easy. You'd get these infrastructure providers at Vulture or DigitalOcean. UpCloud is a great company. Vulture has high performance, starting at $24 a month for a high frequency server that a lot of people use. Linode is a great company. You can even use any infrastructure provider and use this custom virtual private server button in order to set up your own servers and provision them. So if I wanted to provision a new server, all I would have to do is choose one of these or this custom VPS. Really, I could just click my server provider that I have set up here under my own settings. UpCloud is one of my active integrations in my GridPane account. And really, I just select, that's my UpCloud API key name. I would name the server. I would select a region where I want to host that server, maybe San Jose, California, and I would select a plan. Now, these plans, I wouldn't suggest a $5 or a $10 a month plan, but starting at $20 a month, you're getting a 2-core, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 80 gigabytes of disk space. And for that plan, as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm very comfortable hosting 20 to 40 websites on that server. And then I just click Create Server. Once that server's inside of here, I can go up to Sites and I can set up a new site. And this is what I'll be doing when you join the Leverage WP community and you tell me what domain you need. All I do is I enter that domain right here. Your name, George.com. If that domain doesn't actually exist, like I said, you can edit your hosts file in this way on Windows, and there's a slightly different way of doing it on a Mac computer. But once you set up your host file, you can fool your browser into thinking this domain is real, and so you can manage your own WordPress website and take it live whenever you want. So then I would select the server. I select, auto create a system user. This is just in the back end. You don't need to know this, but I just select all this stuff and create and click Add Site, and then your site is available and hosted by me, where I'm managing this server for you and making sure that it stays up and fast at all times. And so it's a great benefit of being a Leverage WP community member. And you could see where, the expense, of course, this comes for free for you. And I can't actually, it's probably, I guess I'm breaking even potentially, or not really making anything on offering you guys a free site, except that I already have the server created. I've created an extra $20 a month server, and as soon as 20 people have their sites set up on that server, I'll create a second server, UpCloud Community number 2, and start putting the next 20 sites on there. And so I'm really happy to be able to offer hosting as a part of your Leverage WP community benefit. And so if we look over here, the next section in the engineering division talks about domain names and domain name service, or DNS systems. So, how do you take your URL and point it to your hosting server? How do you provide an SSL, or secure sockets layer certificate, so that your site can be secure and you don't get a browser warning about it not being a private connection? It's important that all websites use an SSL certificate these days. And so I'll teach you how to set that up on your community site, but I'll also be teaching you how to set this up if you're using your own server. Maybe you're using a shared server at SiteGround or Bluehost. I can teach you how to set up an SSL for yours and client sites on there. Cloudflare. Cloudflare is an excellent service. I use my Cloudflare account for all of my and my client websites here. For example, Cloudflare, if I were to add a new site, all I would do was put in the site name, yournamegeorge.com, and click Add Site. And then it's... so it's failing to look up register and hosting. Right, because this site doesn't actually exist yet. I'm not able to control the DNS for that site. But one thing I can do is use, and what I do use this Cloudflare account for, is to control the DNS on all of these sites for free. So let's just look at leveragewp.com for an example. leveragewp.com, here's the overview, and Cloudflare is managing this site through their DNS service. And so if I look at DNS, The leverage WP domain name is pointed to this server. So over at grid pane, if I look at servers, you can see that I have a very large dedicated server called from the company OVH, and it's in Hillsboro, Oregon. It has this domain name 147 blah blah blah. But if I look at the DNS, so that domain name is pointed to this IP address 147 blah blah blah. And so I also have a staging site there. I have the community subdomain as well, because our community is located at community.leveragewp.com, as you can see in the address bar here. And of course, it's being served over HTTPS, a secure sockets layer. So I have a certificate installed through my grid pane account at that server. For example, and you can actually see here, Cloudflare will monitor my SSL system so that it's protected. So this is full strict SSL, and I have a certificate installed at grid pane for that site as well. And I'll teach you how to set this all up. But Cloudflare is a great free service. The only thing I pay Cloudflare for is domain registration. And this is something I wanted to mention with you guys. Here, as I teach you a few things under the engineering division and under domains and DNS, I would highly recommend using Cloudflare as your domain registrar now. And the reason is Cloudflare is a new domain registrar. They've been around forever as far as DNS services and content delivery networks and other web security they provide across the entire internet. But you can register domains now through Cloudflare. So if I wanted to go yournamegeorge.com, maybe this is a domain for people named George, I could search for a domain name and see if it's available to register. It is. That particular domain name is available, a .com domain for $8.57 US dollars per year. And if you were to look up that same domain name at GoDaddy, it would be almost $20 US per year, because there's a markup that GoDaddy is charging you for that, more than 100% markup on domain names. And so I no longer recommend GoDaddy as a domain registrar. Mostly I don't recommend any other domain registrars, including Namecheap, Network Solutions, and there are many other certified domain name registrars. But Cloudflare is proud to announce that they do not have any markup on domains that they register. The Internic Domain Authority charges Cloudflare exactly this amount, $8.57 US dollars, 57 cents in US dollars per year for a domain name, and Cloudflare does not mark that up. And so they are only going to charge you $8.57 per year. I'm in the process right now of transferring every domain that I have registered, my own and my client domains, from GoDaddy over to Cloudflare. In fact, every time one comes up for renewal at GoDaddy, I cancel the renewal, I unlock the domain name, and I transfer the ownership of that domain name to my Cloudflare domain registration account. And I use this service over here at my Cloudflare here called Transfer Domains. And so as long as I am using Cloudflare free for the domain name, I can transfer that domain name into this registration system. And instead of paying $20 per year, I only pay $8.57 per year for each of my domain names. And so that is a great service that I really highly recommend through Cloudflare. Another service I really highly recommend through Cloudflare, let's just take a look at the Leverage WP domain name that I have here. Email. It says beta. They've been using and testing this for a while, but one thing that you can do, I already have mail set up for leveragewp.com, so this is a little bit confusing here. But you can use Cloudflare to route email addresses at your domain name. And this is something that I've been teaching to students through my Udemy courses, through my YouTube channel. In fact, the YouTube, let me just go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/leveragewp. If we open up the YouTube channel, ooh, neat. I just crested 800 subscribers. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. And here's the live stream coming through right now. But in fact, if I just click the videos tab, I've taught email, migrating email, and a bunch of different kind of email and DNS best practices here on the YouTube channel. And so there's a lot of good content there at the YouTube channel. But my point is, you can use Cloudflare as an email alias provider or an email forwarding provider for your business domain name or your client's business domain name. And so, for example, here, maybe I can show you under Flow Coaching. Under Flow Coaching, oh no, he's got his own, yep, I'm hosting his email at emailserver.com, at my Rackspace email hosting provider. And so this is, again, not a very good example. I know which one. I'm hosting the veilsign.com domain name and website, and he doesn't have any email hosting at VeilSign. In fact, the owner of VeilSign has a Gmail account that he uses, and he just wants to keep using his Gmail account. But he does want to be able to route email from his veilsign.com domain name to his Gmail account, and he doesn't want to reveal his private and personal Gmail account to the public. So if you look at my routes, what I have here is, the billing at veilsign.com and signs at veilsign.com go to his Gmail account. And I'll back out of there so I don't reveal any more of that private Gmail account to you guys during this live stream. But what that enables you to do, and what enables me to do, is to provide a professional email address. For example, signs at veilsign.com, and the other email address, billing at veilsign.com. And I don't have to provide him email hosting, which costs money, at either Google for Business, which used to be G Suite, or say Rackspace email hosting. That costs upwards of $2.5 or $5 a month per email address for you to host email at that professional domain name. Well, Cloudflare enables you to point private email addresses at the domain name to a personal address seamlessly without the public knowing that other address. And so again, I'm going to be getting in the community and teaching you guys how to set all this up with Cloudflare, with your hosting account, whether it's GridPane hosting or another hosting. Either way, I recommend that you get yourself a Cloudflare account and start using the free Cloudflare service on every one of your domain names and your client domain names. I also recommend, like I mentioned, that you register your domain names through Cloudflare instead of other services that charge a markup. Thanks, just getting a sip of water there. I think the stream is coming through all right. Again, I'll just check right here. Yeah, it looks like you guys are able to see me and everything. And so that's great. So let's go back to the iPad real quick. The third segment of the engineering division here is what I'd call engineering topics around WordPress. And this is the final thing I'll go over with you guys today. Just to let you know what kind of content will be available inside the community as far as WordPress engineering. And, this is something that it's just good to know where the files are located in your WordPress website and how the database is managed in your WordPress website. So, if I were to go to my GridPane account here and just take a look at my websites, if I go and let me just search for How about leveragewp.com? You guys know that these are two sites at that domain name, the community.leveragewp.com site, which you'll be joining soon, I'm sure, and the leveragewp.com. Now, these have a database associated with them. And so inside GridPane, all I need to do is click this little database icon, and it opens up and logs me in to the PHP MyAdmin utility in my browser. So I'm in a tab in my browser. You can see that this is a traditional access point for a database. But if I were to just go ahead and click the name of this database, in the back are the database tables. And here are all the database tables associated with this WordPress website. I've got some WooCommerce tables here. I've got, other regular WordPress tables like users, for example. One of the things that you can do, I'm revealing people's email addresses there, so that's not good. But under users, you can go in and change the password of a user. You can even change the username of a WordPress user. Which isn't really possible through the WordPress interface. But sometimes we need to manage the database, and this is how you can access it through your GridPane hosting account. As well as, when each of these websites are up at GridPane, you can use an FTP program like FileZilla, or there's a Chrome extension that's an FTP program that I teach inside of the Udemy course. And I'll teach you guys all about that, again, inside of the WordPress Leverage WP, Leverage WordPress community here, how to access via FTP the WordPress files. But in any case, it's not very common that we really need to edit those files in WordPress, but sometimes we just want to know where they are, how they work, and how they connect to the database. Now, with that said, there are files and there's a database associated with every WordPress installation, and knowing where those are is important to know when you want to migrate a WordPress website. So I'm going to be teaching about WordPress website migration. It reminds me that back here in the Leverage WP YouTube channel, here is, how long is this video? This is an hour and 25-minute tutorial on migrating a WordPress site from SiteGround to GridPane. This was the hopefarmshtx.org website that I had hosting at my original SiteGround cloud hosting account, and I migrated it, when was this, 3 weeks ago. I recorded that process live. And I'll be doing a lot more of these types of real live website work while I record it in the background with screen capture and post it inside the community for you guys to learn from. And so that's a good migration video for you guys to see inside of YouTube. And then there's another one. Here's migrating a website from one server inside of GridPane to a different server inside of GridPane. I did this with my wife's site, one of my client sites called wildfoodgirl.com, where I migrated it from one server to a different server inside of my GridPane account. That was another migrating tutorial that I have inside the YouTube channel. And so let's go back to the iPad here. So website migration is something that I'll be sharing techniques about. Now, staging areas. Susan was just asking me inside the community about whether a staging area will be available for your free WordPress website inside of the community. I would love to offer a staging area for you because I believe it's a best practice. If you're working with WordPress, you should be using a staging area to make certain changes to the live website. I use a staging area inside WordPress in order to do changes in the background when the website is live. You don't want to be doing any kind of cowboy coding, they call it, or getting in there and updating themes and then checking to see if the live website is actually still working after you make your updates and changes. That's kind of risky, as you can imagine. And so it's best to use a staging area instead. in order to test your updates in the staging area. So GridPane offers easy staging areas. And though you don't have access to your own GridPane account with your free server, I would love to offer a staging version of your website that you can access and click live to staging or staging to live. And this is a benefit that I'll be adding into the community in the future. And so thanks for asking that, Susan, and I appreciate the ideas. This is the kind of thing where the kind of thing that I'll be looking for. I'd love for you as a community member to ask me, hey, can we get a staging area? Or, how do I set up Cloudflare? I'm not sure how this DNS thing works. Or, hey, Greg, this email routing. Can you do a little tutorial about how to set up email routing? I have a site that's my client site. He wants to use his own Gmail account, but I want to get him an email address called info@hisdomainname.com. And so how do I set that up through the email routing system in Cloudflare? That is something I'll definitely be teaching inside the community. And so staging areas, and then finally email systems. There's the Cloudflare email routing system, but also, something I'll be talking about is email hosting. I've posted a few different YouTube videos about email hosting and migrating private email addresses to different email hosts. For example, here is a 25-minute video about migrating an email account from SiteGround email, where his website was hosted at SiteGround and his email was hosted at the same server at SiteGround. And I've taught this before. It's not a best practice to host email at the same server as your website. It means that there's 2 points of possible failure. For example, if the website were, if the email system were to go down, for example, this can affect the website. And I tell a story in some of my courses that, in the past, I had been using, I think this was at Media Temple Hosting, and I was using a shared hosting account to host all my client sites. And inside of the control panel, I was able to offer email addresses as a part of my clients' websites. And so they would have a website, an email address like info@theirdomain.com. And because that was hosted at the same exact server as their website, and it was also a shared server at Media Temple, I had an issue one time which went like this. One of my clients' email boxes filled up. And, so they had 5 gigabytes of storage available in that email account. They filled up the 5 gigabytes. And as soon as that email box was full, what happened was all of my client websites, including this client site, went down. They couldn't be accessed by the public anymore. And I had a panic attack, of course, for several hours while I tried to troubleshoot what was going on. And the reason that happened is that I had that kind of 2 points of failure problem. I didn't have good redundancy and backup systems happening, or even Snapshot Failover, which I'll teach you a little bit about in this next final segment of this live stream. But in any case, what happened was it was kind of my first motivation to move a client's email away from their website hosting and to a specific website host. For example, let's see, is my control panel here? Yeah, cp.rackspace.com. If I log into my Rackspace account, you can see that I have my own and several domain names registered for client sites here. Sorry, I just revealed my phone number and my email address on the live stream, so that's great. In any case, I have a bunch of different mailboxes that I'm hosting at a rate of $2.40 per email address per month. And So several client domain names and my own domain names. I have mailboxes, several mailboxes at some of the domain names, single mailboxes at others. Where this is a paid email hosting program. So back to the YouTube channel. Here at flowcoaching.com, my client Chris needed a hosted email account, and I was able to migrate all of his old emails from the SiteGround hosting account to the Rackspace email hosting account. And then I moved his website over to GridPane, which you may have seen me do as a part of the WordPress Website Business Course 2.0. And so that just gives you an idea of the type of content that I'll be putting up, at the community site. So thirdly and finally, the implementation lab. These are kind of like my, shiny objects area where, when I find new stuff that I'm excited about, I'm going to be reviewing it and preparing content for you guys to learn about it as well. Oftentimes I'll be offering you, to install these new services on your own website that I'm hosting for you as my client. And for example, WooFunnels, which plugs into WooCommerce, enables you to do landing pages, upsells, cross-sells, and order bumps in WooCommerce checkout and order pages. The Autonomy CRM, which I use for my outgoing email and the email list. I no longer use MailChimp at what was costing me almost $100 a month for my email list. Now I use Autonomy CRM and I use Amazon Simple Email Service to provide my bulk emailing or my broadcast email system for my email list. So if you're receiving emails from me and you're on my email list, I'm using Amazon. And it's costing me about $1 a month instead of $100 a month to send to the broadcast email list. So that's something I'm going to be teaching about. Automatic CSS is a tool that plugs into Oxygen. It plugs into the Bricks Builder and others for really fully customized websites. I'd love to teach you guys about using that. Local WP, that's just a local development environment. If you've used Local by Flywheel over the years, it's now called Local or Local WP. And it's a really great way to just play with new WordPress installs and spin them up super fast. And then online, InstaWP is a new tool that just got financing and an investment from the automatic. Sorry if the stream has delayed a little bit. Okay, I got a slow connection warning. Looks like we're okay now. Sorry if it stalled on you. However, I want to let you know that the InstaWP service is a free service that lets you spin up websites for free. It's kind of similar to the LeverageWPSandbox.com, where you can spin up your own websites. But InstaWP is a full single WordPress website installation that you can install any plugins that you want and any themes that you want just to test WordPress. And so I'll be teaching about that. Hosting tips. I want to talk a little bit about failover as I finish the live stream. I know we've been going for a little over an hour. But I want to talk about what failover is and how GridPane provides Snapshot Failover and how this is something that you can install on your own client sites to prevent any downtime from happening at all. There's hosting companies talk about 99.9% uptime. Their servers rarely go down, but it's just something that we live with in hosting websites. Servers go down sometimes. A whole server center might go down. OVH had a fire in their server center over in Europe a year or so ago, and all websites at that server center went down. And so to prevent your website or your client site from ever going down, you can use something like Snapshot Failover, provided in a GridPane account at developer level and higher. Now, Snapshot Failover is something where you invest in not one server for your websites, but two servers. And what happens is, if you're using, you have your domain name, right? Whatever it is, .com. And there's a DNS service provided, for example, through Cloudflare. And what happens is if anyone types in or searches Google and finds the domain name, it goes to your Cloudflare account, and Cloudflare decides, because of the DNS settings, it says, okay, I'm going to point that traffic over to this server, which is a particular IP address, right? And then that site opens, and your website visitor is able to load that website from server 1. Now, what happens if there's a fire and server 1 is down? What that means, if that is your only server, if that is just the single server that you're using, that means you get a notification from your monitoring service like Uptime Monitor, and your website or your group of websites is down. However, Snapshot Failover enables you to define a second IP address, and Cloudflare will monitor whether this is working or not. And if it says, oh, that IP address is all of a sudden down, it will instantly redirect traffic to a synchronized server over on this side. And so what this means is that the website visitor will now receive that same website, but it opens for them instead of having a 404 not found or a 500 error or a server error. And so the biggest, the thing that's set up is that these two servers are synchronized with each other. So with this sync happening, this is what Snapshot Failover at GridPane provides you. You can set up a second server so that if server 1 goes down, server 2 provides the sites. And then when server 1 comes back up, well then server 1 will be used again. And you can use a very inexpensive DNS customization from Cloudflare, which just costs $5 a month per website. And so this is an advantage that very, very few WordPress hosts are offering right now. This used to be something that you could set up if you were an expert system administrator, if you could get in the back end of the server and make rules at your DNS provider like Cloudflare, and also set up 2 servers at 2 different IP addresses and have them synchronize with each other every minute or every hour. Now, within GridPane, GridPane is able to use Snapshot Failover, a proprietary system here, to where you have, what type of web server it is. You say that what I have is this source server, and then I define a different server as the failover server. And every 12 hours, I want them to synchronize. And this is a service that I only offer to my clients that are paying me at least $100 per month for their hosting and website care. It's a really big step up as far as services. And so I was just sharing my screen here for a quick second, but you couldn't see that. What I was looking at over here was my GridPane account under Tools, this section called Snapshot Failover. And I just define what type of web server I'm using, whether it's Nginx or OpenLightspeed. I choose one of my servers as the source, and I choose a second server as my failover server. And as I've explained, there's, all websites will load from the first source server. And if Cloudflare detects that the source server is down for even just a millisecond, it will start directing traffic to the failover server instead. And the beauty of this setup with GridPane is that the source server can be provided from one company, in this case UpCloud, and your failover server could be at a completely different company, at a completely different data center. This one, in this case, Vultr, Client 1. This Vultr server is located in California, and this UpCloud server is located in Chicago in the United States. And so if there's ever an issue with server number 1, the failover happens instantly to a synchronized server, over here, and they're synchronized right here every 12 hours. I could synchronize them at 1 hour if I really wanted a high level of service. I could use a 24-hour period, so basically once a day. But by default, it's set up for twice a day or every 12 hours. And then that snapshot failover, as I mentioned, is provided by, you set up the DNS system with Cloudflare, and that is a $5 per month per site additional expense. And this is why I use my more expensive hosting for providing this for clients. This is what I would call a service that you might offer to mission critical websites, websites that absolutely cannot ever go down. Or you could decide to just provide hosting for your clients at this level for everyone and just charge appropriately. I would suggest that your minimum hosting and website care charge is maybe $50 a month, but I charge $100 a month for this service for my clients, and that would be $1,200 for the year, but the way I price that is they get 2 months for free, and so a $100 a month service, you can get 2 months free and pay for the year if you pay $1,000. And so that's for one website for my clients. Now, if you were to go ahead and become a Leverage WP community member, I'm going to be offering a $100 a month grid pane account to each of my community members that costs $100 a month, but allows you to host an unlimited number of websites. And so I'll just finish with this, you guys. Again, I'm going to be inside of the community offering daily and weekly content that I'm going to be putting up. You'll be able to ask me questions directly about a particular project. Oops, I'm not sharing my iPad. Sorry about that. Daily and weekly content that I'll be placing up on the community website. Ask me anything at any time. Post questions in the public forums or just on the activity feed so that anybody can answer any questions. Request tutorials. You'll have the opportunity to ask me, hey Greg, I don't see it on your YouTube channel. I need a tutorial about setting up Cloudflare for Snapshot Failover for my 2 servers at GridPane. And I'll say, oh, awesome. I'm going to be creating that right now. It'll be available to you in a couple of days. And so I'll create that for everybody. You have one site hosted included. And not only is that included in your community membership for now, $150 for the year, but you also get access to my licenses for Divi, for example, WooFunnels, the Elementor Pro, the Spectra Builder when it's out, and I have access to it. There's another one that's important that is available. What did I say? Elementor Pro, right? Cadence Pro Theme and Cadence Pro Blocks is available to you. You just have to ask me and I'll set it up on your community website. And then, WordPress current events. The last thing on my list of benefits is that I'm just going to be keeping you guys updated inside of the community on everything new with WordPress that's happening. Now, I won't be doing that once a year. I won't be doing that once a month. I'm going to be updating you on current events every single week, if not every day. So as soon as I hear about something new, I'm going to get right into the community and post about it. I'll be creating a video explaining about it, or making a written tutorial, or just writing and placing a link to the new thing that came out for WordPress. And you guys can access it, of course, at community.leveragewp.com. So I would encourage you right now to go ahead and go to the sign up page. If you go to community.leveragewp.com, that sign up button is up at the top right. I was just going to go and show that right here. If you're just at the Leverage WP community homepage, this is a incognito window inside of Chrome, so I'm not logged in as the administrator right now. You can see the activity feed, but really that's the only page you can see. If you attempt to go to somewhere else, like one of the groups, then it tells you that this is for members only and it wants you to log in. So if you're not a member already, just go ahead and click sign up. That takes you to the sign up for the community page, gives you a few ideas. These are the bullet points I've gone over today, and it gives you an idea of where we are in the founding members promotional period right now at the community website. And so far, we're still within the first 100 founding members, and so you get it for $150 for the year. Available now, as I said. As soon as the 100th person signs up for the community, it's going to go to $200 for the year. And of course, at either one of the prices, those are discounted for the life of your membership. So as long as you hold your membership, you'll keep and be grandfathered into that original price at this time, $150 a year. And it automatically renews. Of course, you can cancel at any time. $250 a year for person 201 through person 300. And then it goes to $300 per year. Eventually, this membership, when it's really going, it's got all kinds of content in it. I'm going to be raising the price to $600 per year. That's going to be the full retail price, or $50 per month. Right now, it's only an annual cost of $150 a year. So just go ahead and click Join the WP Community. It just pulls up a little pop-up. You choose first name, last name, email, put in your credit card number and details, and click Pay. And you'll be redirected to a page where you can choose your username and your password so that you can log into the community. If you have any issues at all, you can feel free to communicate with me through replying to any of my emails, or you can email me at Greg, G-R-E-G-G, at leveragewp.com. That's Greg at leveragewp.com. And I really appreciate you guys coming in and tuning in to the live stream today, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on the Vimeo channel. I am going to post a replay so that this is visible and available to you guys later. And it's been about an hour and 15. Again, I really hope that you'll come in and join us inside the Leverage WP community at community.leveragewp.com. Thanks and welcome in advance.